Hi, and we're live. This is Holly and Kristen with the Project Chimps Book Club. We have two special guests today, is Grace Peters and Sylvia Medina, who are the authors of Hope for Kareem. So we're going to bring them on now. Hi, Grace, and hi, Sylvia.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to our book club. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Sylvia?
Well, I'm the founder of Green Kids Club, and we write children's books about environmental stewardship and trying to help, different organizations and animals that need help with, with environmental issues. So we focus on writing books like that. And we were approached by Grace, who is my co-author, who's working with Project Chimps to do a story about Kareem. So that's what we did. So.
Awesome. Grace, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm a third year in college. I'm at Ohio State studying anthropology and zoology. So I interned at Project Chimps 2 years ago now, and I loved every minute of it. And I had actually started working with Sylvia in high school. And Kareem left an impression on me, like he's left an impression on a lot of people. And so we went for it with the book, and here we are.
Awesome. So tell us, before we start, we're going to read the book, but before we do so, tell us why Kareem?
I'll let Grace pick, answer, and then I'll go after her. So go ahead.
Sure. So when I was working at Project Chimps as an intern, I was working with Kareem's group. And so I had a lot of interaction specifically with that group. And he is just, I have no other way to describe it. He is a special guy. I mean, he's huge, right? He's also the alpha of the group, so he really stands out. And I really got set on wanting him to like me because I know he's not normally partial to brunettes. He's a big fan of blondes when they come in. But he was our alpha in the group, and I just really, really wanted him to like me and to kind of feel like he accepted me as someone who was always in the building with them and hanging out with them. And he's pretty amazing. And I think either Allie or Holly gave me his backstory, which really left an impression on me as well.
And that's the other Holly. Yeah.
Cool. Yes, other Holly.
Great.
When we wrote the story, is that when Grace brought the story forward, I was really excited to work with Kareem and find out about him. But his story is very difficult. And as a children's book, we had, it was challenging to write a story about a challenging subject, like what happens with the chimps that come to Project Chimps. So I think we were able to do that and still leave hope for children, which was, what it was about. And just one last thing is our illustrator, his name is Andreas Wesselthorhorn. Mm-hmm. And he is one of the illustrators that worked for Disney many years ago and did Tarzan. He did Tarzan and some of the other different groups. So he really put a beautiful touch on the story as well. So
yes, beautifully illustrated for sure. Well, without further ado, why don't Sylvia and Grace, why don't you take turns reading the book so we can get an idea of the story?
Grace, I'll let you start the first 2 pages. How's that?
Sure. Do you want me to try to show the picture?
Why don't I show it and you
okay.
That might work better.
Okay, sounds good.
So here's the title page.
All right. Hope for Kareem, the brave chimp. Okay. It was a wild and crazy day in the chimp room at Universal Primate Labs. Kareem was hanging out with his friends as they tossed colorful balls and munched on bananas and oranges. His fellow baby chimps, Julia and Raj, were screeching and rolling around on the floor, fighting over a big red ball. Kareem ran over to them. "Knock it off, you two. Michelle will be upset with us, and we won't get bananas for our afternoon snack." Michelle was a nice young woman who cared for them. She wore a white coat with deep pockets and all sorts of yummy treats, including bananas, one of the chimp's favorites. Michelle had shown Kareem videos of chimps and their families in the jungles of Africa. In one of the videos, he saw a mother chimp and her baby. This made him long to see his mother, but now Michelle took care of him.
You think you're the alpha chimp around here, Kareem, Julia said, but you're not the boss. Kareem didn't think he was a boss. He just wanted bananas. He smiled a big chimpanzee smile. Just then, Michelle came into the playroom. Good morning, chimps. Are we ready to sing our song? The chimps began to hop up and down as they sang, I am a chimp, wild and free. I play in the grass and climb up trees. Romp around like a chimpanzee with an ooh ooh ah and an ee.
Michelle laughed at the silly little chimps. Then she picked up Kareem and hugged him for a long time before she sighed and said, Kareem, you need to come with me. Kareem thought he might be going to Michelle's apartment. Sometimes she took the chimps home with her. She took him and put him in his crate where he usually slept. Inside was his favorite blanket, a blue fleece with moons and stars, an apple, and a banana. I'm going to miss you, Kareem, Michelle said. Be strong and remember, you are an alpha. She was crying as she closed the crate. Kareem didn't understand. Had he done something wrong? Soon, a man came and carried Kareem's crate outside, where a van was waiting. He put Kareem in the back. Kareem peered through the holes in his crate and saw other chimps in crates. He wondered where they were going.
Kareem and the other chimps rode in the van for many hours. Night fell, and the only light in the van came from the bright lights of the cities as they drove through. As Kareem lay on his blanket, staring at the top of his crate, a soft voice said, Can't you sleep? Kareem sat up. Who's there? He whispered. Up here, the voice said. He looked up. A small caterpillar was curled up in the corner of his crate. My name is Hope, the caterpillar said. I'm Kareem. Where did you come from? I crawled into the van a week or so ago. I meet a lot of nice chimps, just like you here, Hope replied.
Do you know where we're going? Kareem asked. Yes, I've seen the place. I fear it's not what you're used to, Kareem, but you must be strong. I will help you. Kareem wondered what Hope was talking about. He soon fell asleep, dreaming that he was with Julia and Raj. The van stopped just after the sun rose and the back doors opened. A man and a woman wearing white coats began carrying the crates into a building. Kareem blinked as he was carried into a brightly lit room. They placed his crate on a large shelf. He looked about and saw many other crates with chimps.
Just then, another woman in a white coat like Michelle's entered. She was carrying a male chimp. The chimp's eyes were closed, as if he were sleeping. The woman put him in a crate, and the chimp lay still. Remember, Kareem, you must be strong and tell the others to be strong too, Hope repeated. The next day, the same woman came and took Kareem into a room with bright lights overhead and lots of shiny objects lying about. Kareem thought she might play with him or show him a video about African chimps. Instead, she poked and prodded him, and he soon felt dizzy. When Kareem laid his head on the cold metal table, she returned to his crate. In his stupor, he heard Hope say, It's going to be okay, Kareem.
As Kareem woke up, he saw another chimp in the crate next to him. Kareem asked, What's your name? Sydney, the chimp replied. I hate this place. The people are not nice and I always feel sick. You have to be strong, Sydney, Kareem said. I know a song. Let me teach you. Kareem taught Sydney and all the other chimps in the lab the chimp song. I am a chimp, wild and free. I play in the grass and climb up trees, romp around like a chimpanzee with an ooh ooh ah and an ee. The chimps would sing it every day loudly as the lab workers held their ears. As he sang, Kareem would often imagine himself in the jungles of Africa. Good job, Kareem. I love your song, Hope said from her corner.
Over the next few months, Kareem was taken to 4 different labs. One lab was worse than the others. It was a dark and gloomy place. At this lab, people walked by his cage, never offering him toys or a banana treat. He was uncomfortable and felt miserable. No one seemed to care except Hope, who was always in her corner. Every night she would inch down and hug him with her little caterpillar legs. You're strong, Kareem. The lab people know this. They will keep you testing because you are the strongest. They know you can survive. Be brave, whispered Hope.
One day, a man brought Kareem back to his crate after giving him something that tasted awful. Kareem was sick to his stomach. He curled up on his dirty blanket. He looked up towards Hope's corner, but she wasn't there. Instead, there was a cocoon. Kareem cried because he could not talk to his friend. He was all alone as he fell into a deep sleep. When Kareem woke up, he was unsure how long he had slept. He rubbed his eyes and looked around. Suddenly, he heard a soft voice singing. I am a chimp, wild and free. I play in the grass and climb up trees, romp around like a chimpanzee with an ooh-ooh-ah and an ee-ee-ee. Kareem looked up. A beautiful butterfly with blue and gold wings was perched in the corner of his crate. Hope, is that you? He asked.
Yes, Kareem, it's me. She fluttered down and caressed his face with her tiny wings. I've come out of my cocoon, and soon you will come out of yours. This crate is your cocoon, Kareem. In time you will emerge and be proud and free like me. Stay strong. Kareem endured more poking and prodding from the lab people. Whenever he returned to his crate, Hope was in the corner, whispering words of encouragement. You're the bravest alpha chimp, Kareem. It won't be long now.
Soon, Kareem was again being loaded into a vehicle with other chimps. But this time, he felt less scared. He went to sleep with Hope's wings softly brushing his cheeks. Then we have this beautiful picture.
Kareem's new home was a sanctuary called Project Chimps in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was a long journey, but when he got there, many friendly people welcomed him and the other chimps. Kareem looked out from his crate and saw tall trees, pink and white flowers, and majestic mountains. There were spacious fenced areas where chimps romped around and played. Their screeches and howls were sounds of happiness instead of pain.
The people placed the crate inside a fence and opened it so Kareem could get out. A young woman said, Hello, my name is Grace. We've waited a long time to meet you. She slid a green, tree-looking thing under the fence. Kareem saw it, and when she moved away, he ran over, grabbed it, and gobbled it up. Kareem had found a new favorite food, broccoli. After Grace left, Kareem listened to the chattering of the other chimpanzees. He was nervous and scared to go out into his new habitat. Just then, Hope flew into the room. Hope, I'm so happy to see you. Can you tell me what the other chimps are doing? Are they having fun? Are they getting along?
Well, Kareem, I can't tell you that. You must go see for yourself, she said. Kareem frowned. But Hope, I'm scared. This is a big change. I don't think I'm brave enough to go. Hope stood up on her tiny legs and spread her wings as far as she could. Kareem, you can do it. You are brave and strong. Now go and live your dream. The little butterfly gently pushed Kareem towards the door. They both started singing, I'm a chimp, wild and free. I play in the grass and climb up trees. Romp around like a chimpanzee with an ooh-ooh-ah and an ee-ee-ee. With some hesitation, Kareem moved into the doorway. He worked up his courage as he stepped into the sunlight of the habitat. The grass felt cool on his broad knuckles and between his toes. He smelled the faint scent of daisies and other wildflowers. Dozens of towering trees surrounded him.
In time, Kareem was running and playing with his fellow chimps. He soon became the alpha chimp, breaking up fights and settling food fights, always taking his food last once he knew everyone could eat. He and his friends spent their days in safety and comfort.
One day, Hope appeared. She landed on a flower as Kareem lounged in his favorite hammock in the outdoor play area. Hope, where have you been? He said. I've missed you. Just doing the usual butterfly stuff. Many blossoms are waiting for me to visit and spread their pollen. But I came to tell you, Kareem, I think it's time for me to leave. You finally have a happy forever life here, now with your new friends. Kareem began to cry. Hope, I don't want you to leave me. I don't want things to change. Nonsense, Hope said. Without change, I wouldn't be here. I was a caterpillar, then a cocoon, and now I'm a butterfly. Without change, you wouldn't be here. You were brave and strong, and now you have come to this amazing place. You are here because you believed in yourself.
Kareem and Hope sang together again. I am a chimp, wild and free. I play in the grass and climb up trees, romp around like a chimpanzee with an ooh ooh ah and an ee ee ee. In the grassy play area, chimps were jumping on little trampolines and swinging on ropes. Two chimps, who were new to the sanctuary, were waving their arms as they argued over who would get to swing on the ropes next.
Hope gave Kareem several butterfly kisses with her wings. I'm going now, Kareem. It's time for you to be an alpha, she said, as she flew off into the honeysuckle bushes. Kareem sighed and called out as she ran over to the chimps. Hey, you guys, let me teach you a song.
And then we've got some great pages that chimpanzee facts, and we also have things about Project Chimps and Kareem, and about medical testing and the caregivers, etc. So thank you both for reading that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Sure. So how did you come up with the song?
That's Grace's.
It is. That's a great question. I think I was I first want to give a lot of credit to Sylvia, because I don't think people realize how difficult it is to write children's books. I think that we envision it as this simple thing because, kids, it's easy to keep them entertained. But it's hard. And she has got it down to a science. And so I was literally just sitting there like brainstorming, and I was like, well, like maybe if we put in like some rhymey stuff, because I always remember rhymes in the kids' books that I read. And I also was hoping that it'd kind of lighten the mood a little bit. Like we were talking about, this is a difficult topic. So that's kind of how it ended up there. I wish I had a better answer, but
that's awesome. I at one point when he sings a song, he imagines being in Africa. So when I think of the song, I'm always thinking of them like running wild and free in Africa. So I thought that was a very cool visual, even though it doesn't exactly say that. I think that gives the impression,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and then when he is running wild and free, he is actually at Project Chimps, so that's really cool too.
Right. I thought it would be kind of cool to add in this aspect of, deep down, these chimps deserve that, right? And even though we're not going to send them back to Africa, that's not something that is, ethical or possible. But Project Chimps is an amazing place for them to end up and to be able to have that freedom. So
cool. So at the beginning of the book, Kareem is with a researcher, and I thought that was interesting. And then on another page, it talks about how sometimes she brings him home. What do you know about that researcher? I'm just curious if you knew anything about that story.
Yeah,
we took that from the bio, didn't we, Grace?
Yeah. So that was from, like Sylvia was saying, from just what we knew about Kareem's bio from Project Chimps. I know I had a couple of conversations when I was still working there with a lot of the people I worked with who knew these things. So that a lot of these situations are based on, what really happened to him. And I believe his caretaker from that time actually got to visit him eventually at Project Chimps.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really cool.
Special for her.
Yeah. But I think it's important to, these caretakers, in spite of the conditions of labs and things like that, they put in their all to make it the best life for them that they could. So I think that was an important thing to note as well.
Okay, so this caterpillar that is in the transport cage and follows Kareem, what does a caterpillar mean for Kareem, and why a caterpillar? I mean, I get it that it's like a easy metaphor for kids to understand, but tell us more.
Well, Grace and I went back and forth on it, and we were discussing the fact that, the story is such a hard story, really, like I said earlier, and we have to, when you write a children's book, there has to be hope, and that's how part of the name of the book was Hope for Kareem. But we just thought, if he had somebody who was giving him inspiration to continue going through all of this, despite how hard it is. And so at the end, you have the metamorphosis of a caterpillar turning into this beautiful butterfly, which is gives them even more hope. So I think we were just trying to find a character that would help him get through the whole thing. And I would think that probably Kareem he's a chimpanzee, but he had a tough time getting to where he's at now. So I don't know. What do you think, Grace?
Yeah, I know. I think you expressed that perfectly. I know that was a big thing that Sylvia had suggested to me, was that we add in, kind of another animal character for him to have those interactions with. And I think it really helped the story to go in that hopeful direction and have more of a storyline and a direction than like just flat out, here's what happened to him. So
yeah, I think you could have used any metaphor, but that really works well. I mean, not only for kids understanding it, but the hope part and the transformation, because that's what Kareem goes through. So Grace, you met Kareem, so tell us more about your impressions of him. I know you said a little bit at the beginning about why Kareem, but can you tell us a little more?
Yeah, so people are gonna think I'm crazy the way I'm like talking about a chimpanzee, I think. But I think the impression you get from him is that he's smarter than you, and he just knows better than you. So he's like an alpha. He has a very commanding presence. He's very successful at his job as alpha. A lot of those things we included him waiting to take his food until everyone else got their food, keeping an eye out for some of the younger playful chimps who can get on others' nerves, and breaking up fights when he had to. He just was like really the ultimate leader, very gentle. But then, my gosh, like if he had to get involved in something, he got involved, and he was good at breaking up fights and things like that. But like I said, so I don't know if this is because of his past caretakers, but he is very partial to blonde women. And I was like, man, I really want him to like accept me. It was almost like I wanted him to like kind of let me into the family for a little bit while I was working there. And we did not start off on a very like playful, good foot. I would say that I was able to interact with a lot of the other chimps in a way that I was like, oh, I felt like that was kind of, we made a connection there, but never with Kareem. And then one day I got him to play with me, and he gave me a gift, which was actually a eaten corn on the cob. Which is pretty much the coolest gift you could see. But from that point on, I was like, yes, like he's good with me. We're good. We're on the same page. Yeah, he just has an air around him that he's in charge, and he's very good at it.
So after you met Kareem, though, were you already kind of thinking about maybe using your time at Project Chimps to do this artistic outlet of kind of pursuing a book, or was Kareem kind of the reason you wanted to pursue it?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about that. I feel like I this was like, I've been working with Sylvia since high school. And so I think it's always in the back of my mind. And Project Chimps was my really first experience working that closely with animals. So I think it was always in the back of my mind, but I feel like he presented the perfect scenario for me. It just meant a lot to me, and he presented a really good subject. He inspires a lot of people, I think, actually. So
Yeah.
So tell us more about how you did the research. Like, you knew about the researcher that had him at the beginning, and then he went to several labs. Tell us, how did you find all that out?
A lot of it's on your homepage, actually.
Yeah.
You go in there, and that's where I got most of the information, and then
Okay.
Grace provided a lot of it, and I don't know elsewhere, right? Great. And of course, what happens with medical testing, looking up some of the information on that and the regulations that have, come through to make those changes, Grace, do you have?
yeah, I would say a lot of it, we got directly from Project Chimps, from people that I worked with. I know that, with lab records, there was even a certain gap in Kareem's history that we kind of were like, don't know what happened there. But it was easier to piece together kind of the story based on what Project Chimps had done to find out his background. So, yeah.
So why this story? I know we talked about, why Kareem, but why his story? Why that story in particular?
Well, Grace went to work at Project Chimps, and she's been talking to me about writing a children's book for a while. And so, when she came back from her experience, she's like, what do you think of this, Sylvia? And I'm like, well, I think that'd be perfect. But it was hard to write because it's a sad story, and we don't want to, leave it unhopeful, which I think we were able to work well. And I think what Project Chimps is doing is great. So I was really, really happy to work with Grace on it.
Yeah, I think that he has a particularly inspiring story because he went through so much. He went through 4 labs and really intensive research, and I think it's a story worth being told of his resilience throughout that. And not only that, I think it's Project Chimps does a good job of outreach to local people, and I think that it's important to highlight that we have something like this in Georgia, which is really cool. Most people would never expect that. So it's neat to kind of highlight this issue within kind of our home base, if that makes sense.
And also medical testing on just animals in general, I think needs to be looked at. I think it's maybe the beginning of some other stories, So.
And it's very delicate, with kids and medical testing to understand that. So, and maybe I just answered my question, but why tell this story to kids?
Well, I think as Grace was saying, well, first of all, Kareem's a great, he's just a wonderful character. He's a real, and you can give a child, who can, I guess, who might be going through adversity, actually some hope. So it doesn't always have to be related to just, medical testing, but just in general, life can be hard, but I can make it, have resilience in what you do. So I think there's more to just one message. I think it could, transpire into even more than that.
Yeah, I really like how it took that direction in the end. And I think still getting that idea across of educating, younger people on medical testing. I know what got me into conservation and to animals and all of this was, my mom would take me to the library and we'd pick out books. And, it's without books and zoos and visits and things like that. There's no other way for kids to get into this and to start caring about it. So
awesome. Jolene, who is listening in, want to know if you got to meet Kareem. I think we've already covered that, but did Sylvia ever get to meet Kareem?
Not yet, but I'm planning on it. I've been invited to go down to the facility, so I'm looking forward to getting that opportunity to meet Kareem and see what's, get the hands-on experience to see how it operates, and I'm really excited to actually do that. So
cool. Was there any when you were writing this, did you have any inspiration from other authors or illustrators? Tell us about that.
well, I've had various people we've worked with. We have a great editor. She supported us in going through the edits and making sure that we developed a story that worked well, because you always have a manuscript that's always a little that needs to be enhanced. You think that what you write is perfect the first time, and it needs to be looked at. So we had some support in like I said, super editor. And then I think just kind of working with I've looked at what like Jane Goodall does and different people working with primates. We've looked at some of their books to see how they actually how do you write a story like this, especially a difficult one. So I do my research in terms of looking at other authors and seeing how they would present information to children. So I think that's been very helpful, and I still do that.
So can you guys tell us a little more about Green Kids Club and any more animal publishing projects you might have?
Well, we're just actually we've done quite a number of books. We worked with Elephants Without Borders, based in Botswana, Africa. So we did a book with them. We've done a book with Blood Lions, who's a group based out of also South Africa, with lion issues and canned hunts. And we give part of our proceeds to animal organizations. At these animal organizations we work with. In the U.S., we're working close to my home. Our Grace used to live in Idaho. There's by Teton National Park, there's a bear called Grizzly 399, and we've written some books about her, a true story about her, and habituation issues that are going on in that area, and trying to prevent animals from being habituated or being used to being around people and food that could impact them being taken. And so those are just some examples. Here's a really cute one we did with rhino issues in Africa as well. And right now we've got a couple of books. One we're doing with a whale called Scully here in that was in captivity in one of the the aquariums. And I can't go into too many details about that one. And we're going to be working on a wolf book this fall. And we're finishing actually a gorilla book right now. So those are just some of the different books. We always have quite a bit on our plate, and I'll be going to Africa next week to work with the cheetah organization.
Wow.
Cheetah International organization. They want a book written, so I get to go learn all about cheetahs, so I kind of enjoy what I do.
Jolene wants to know what Sylvia's favorite animal is.
Well, it's between elephants, dogs, and let's see, elephants, dogs, and bears. To be honest with you, I really love elephants a lot because I've seen, I went to Africa and also been to Thailand. But I have to say my favorite animal is the grizzly bear. So
cool. You have any questions, Kristen?
Let me see. Oh, I have a question. So this illustration, which you guys have talked about kind of a little bit at the beginning, it is so captivating and just absolutely striking. Can you walk through what the process was like, kind of collaborating with that illustrator? And how does that work? Is it a bunch of drafts back and forth, or what's that like?
Well, what we do is we write the story, and then Grace and I went back and forth and write the story. We get it edited. And one of the big problems I think I had early on was I put way too much text, with some of the stories, because you want to write like like you're writing to an adult.
Right.
And so you have to start kind of decreasing the amount of text. And but what you do is you do a storyboard. So you'll go ahead and you'll lay out, because you like typically a children's book is about 32 pages long, and so you have to lay out the scenes, and then we'll lay out the script, and then we kind of do a visual. We have some a gal who works with me here in the office will do kind of a really soft, just a quick illustration on what she wants on it. And then you give it to the illustrator. And then sometimes we don't even do that. We just tell them this is what we want you to do, or think about it. And Andreas is so good at what he does, that he's just very easy to work with. And usually it's the first time. He usually gets it right the first time, But, and this is one of our books that he did. This is
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
you can see the Disney. It looks like some of the Disney work he's done, but these are his kids. So he does
Oh my goodness.
Cute.
pretty amazing work. So my illustrators, we storyboard it and we lay it out, and usually we can have a book illustrated within about 6 weeks.
Wow.
We'll do one revision through, usually one rev, and then we'll go back and forth, and then we run through. But it takes about 5 months to get a book out. About 4 months, 4 to 5 months. Getting it, going through it back and forth. And I think Grace and I went a little longer, maybe, huh? But
Maybe a little, but it's okay.
we wanted to get it right. I think that's the one thing I learned early on. We kind of just put the books out, and I don't think we always did the best job, to be honest with you. But I think now we really learned the process, and we take our time and do it right, especially the science section. You want to make the science section fun for the kids, not just here's a bunch of facts, So put a few jokes in there and stuff like that. So we try and do that.
Yeah. Wow.
I had a question. So Grace mentioned that she worked with you, Sylvia, in high school. So how did you guys get involved with each other? How did you guys meet, and how'd that work?
Well, go ahead, Grace. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, so let's just bring it back to my mom, as long as we're as long as I've been talking about my mom. So I have always been really interested in this stuff, and moved to Idaho when I was 14. Never could have expected to have met someone like Sylvia there. And my mom introduced us. She was like, hey, like, I know this really wonderful woman. She does these books about conservation. Maybe you could see if like you can do some like background work or interning for her. And Sylvia just took me under her wing, and here we are. It was like literally a stroke of luck. Like how can you predict these things, right? You end up in Idaho, and then here we are.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I almost took Grace to Thailand last year, but she had to go to Disney World instead. It was kind of late though. It was a quick, but maybe next year or this year. So
Oh yeah.
What else do you guys want to tell us about the book?
Sylvia, do you have anything? Go ahead.
Well, I think overall for me, I haven't met Kareem, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really just so impressed by what Project Chimps is doing, that you guys are making a difference and providing homes for, a beautiful, wonderful place for these chimpanzees that have went through such a terrible experiences. And, when I was doing the research on it, of course you read about testing, but you don't realize how bad it can be. And, I heard, I'm seeing that the regulations are starting to go in the direction of testing, to reduce the amount of testing on animals, period. And I think at some point in time, I hope that's what, as a world and a community, that we'll stop doing that to animals, just because I just can't believe that we do that to them.
Right.
But it was a wonderful experience for me, and I learned a lot about chimpanzees, and hopefully I'll get to meet him soon. So
Yeah, you guys picked a good one to profile Kareem. Anything else you want to add, Kristen?
When's the next book about a chimp from Project Chimps coming out?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, Kareem is a great subject to write about, but even just, you don't want to forget there's so many stories there.
Yeah.
At Project Chimps and all over, but yeah, I mean, you can't not be struck about what a lot of these chimpanzees have gone through. And I'm excited for Sylvia to have the interactions with them, because it's just it's indescribable. You can't imagine these things being done to an animal of that. I'm gonna jump and say mental capacity. And yeah, I just think that it's really striking. So yeah.
Well, we've got 97 more chimps, so
Yes. We'll make a list or something.
You think I think we're going to wrap up a little early. We've covered so much in our discussion. Tracy Holiday says, thank you both for this beautiful book. Anybody else want to chime in on any comments? They're welcome to. Jolene says the twins are next. That's
Buttercup and Trees.
Yeah.
Oh,
Janice says, thank you for the time, energy, and heart that went into the story. Definitely getting copies to send to some kids I know. Thank you, Janice. That's awesome. Jacob asks, what was Grace's favorite part of her experience with Project Chimps? Sounds like Kareem.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a loaded question. So I spent the summer there, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the time that I had specifically with Kareem's group, and how fun it was, getting to know those chimpanzees. And the people that work at Project Chimps are just like so passionate about what they do, so it's very easy to like love what you're doing the whole time you're there, and to feel good about what you're doing and passionate about what you're doing. And I would also say, this is just like a random thing, but I was always like so amazed by the fact that I lived in a cabin, which you guys would be familiar with. I think you're in it. Very close by to the facilities. And sometimes I would be like laying in bed at night, and I could literally like hear the chimps just playing and doing whatever they were doing at the middle of the night. And that was just such a cool part to me. I don't know why.
That is so
loved
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was laughing about the fact that he likes blondes more than he likes brunettes. I mean,
know.
I just kind of wonder how that happens,
I promise I'm not making it up. It's you can ask.
I heard that too.
They've
Yeah.
had funny preferences.
Yeah.
It's obvious when you go in there.
Well, I just have to add, and I know we've been basically saying it the whole time, but our mission to kind of acclimate into our community and just educate others, these little golden nuggets like this is a treasure trove for us. I mean, it makes our mission and what we do here so much more accessible and palpable to these amazing young minds. We can't thank you enough. We really can't. It's precious to us, and it's more valuable than I can describe. So we just thank you so much for all your hard work on this project.
Oh, thank you. That
you.
means a lot.
We enjoyed it, huh?
Yeah. That's like I was saying, that's what got me into conservation, right? Reading books and being able to have those experiences. So I hope it has the same effect for other young people.
Awesome. Well, on that note, we're going to sign off. Thank you both so much for joining us for Project Chimps Book Club. And we'll see you next month for bingo. And Jolene has been commenting, so you can see what she has written too. Okay.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.